Welcome everyone to the Why Silver, Why Now webinar. My name is Greg McCoach, editor of the Mining Speculator and the Insider Alert newsletters. With me today, for our webinar, our panelists, Jorge Monroy, CEO of Reyna Silver, Joseph Hebert of Outcrop Gold, and Michael Konnert of Visla Resources. These three companies are my silver recommendations that I've made in 2020. Earlier in the year, I started pointing my subscribers to why silver, that silver was grossly undervalued. Trying to find good silver companies, though, is much more difficult than trying to find gold companies. The reason, there's very few silver companies compared to the number of gold companies. And trying to find the high quality companies takes some real digging. These three companies, in my view, are the best three exploration stories that I see in the silver space right now. So welcome everybody. The order of operations today, I will start with some short comments, several minutes just on why silver and why I'm so bullish. After that, we'll move into the presentation by Reyna Silver. Then we'll go to Outcrop Gold. And last but not least, Michael Konnert of Visla Resources. And at the end, we'll have the very valuable Q&A where you, the participants, can all take part and ask questions to our panelists or myself. So we look forward to going through the next hour. We figure an hour and a half, somewhere in between there. This webinar will be that long. So welcome everybody. So where I want to start is why silver? Because it's grossly undervalued in my view. For the last year and a half, 2 years at the MIF conferences and the money shows that I speak at, I've been telling investors to sell overvalued markets and buy undervalued markets. Thus far, that's paid off handsomely for us in the gold stocks. And up until recently, silver has been lagging, which is typical of any bull market in the precious metals. Gold always leads the way, and silver tends to play catch up at some point. Well, earlier in the year when I started focusing on silver, telling people to pay attention, silver was still grossly lagging. Silver was still grossly lagging gold. At one point, the gold-silver ratio, how many ounces of silver does it take to buy 1 ounce of gold, had gotten well over 100 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. Currently, as of this morning, I just did the math, it's 78 to 1. With a $24.41 silver price, 1885 gold, yeah, 78 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. So that ratio is coming down since earlier in the year, and that's because silver made this big jump and it's starting to come alive, but it is still grossly undervalued compared to where things are going to go. And I always like to give the comparison. How high, Greg? What are you talking about? How high could silver go? Well, I'm on record saying that gold will easily hit $10,000 an ounce as the debt-ridden derivative-based currency system implodes. The debt levels are just unsustainable. The central banks of the world are going to be creating tens of trillions of dollars to keep the illusion of the bubble markets alive. That's all going to go away. The big bazillion-dollar question is, how much longer do we really have? Well, that's the generational question that everybody would like to know. And I maintain that we are getting very close, because when you look at the historical examples of republics that have abused their systems of credit and their currencies, it comes undone when so much money has to be created, ridiculous sums have to be created to try to keep the bubbles all afloat. So we're there, in my view. Do we have a year, 2 years? Nobody knows. But it's smart to pay attention and sell overvalued bubble markets to buy undervalued precious metal markets. And silver, in my view, if you look at a $10,000 gold price, what would that mean for silver? At a 15 to 1 ratio, right? When we get into these bull markets, historically, silver and gold go back to that 15 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. That would be a $667 an ounce silver price. Do people understand what that would mean leverage-wise with companies like we're talking about with today? Reyna Silver, Outcrop Gold, Vizsla Resources, the leverage would be insane, okay? So my recommendation to my subscribers, for my mantra for years has been, you know, let's make money in the markets with the investment pyramid of risk, the pyramid. At the bottom, I believe owning physical precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, and or palladium. Take delivery of it. Protect it yourself from fire and theft. Don't let other people hold it for you. You probably won't benefit from it if you're not in possession of it. So for silver, I recommend for Americans, the Silver Eagles, for Canadians, the Silver Maple Leafs. These coins are absolute must as the bedrock of your portfolio with what's coming. So the investment pyramid of risk, the ownership of physical silver is at the bottom, the least amount of risk, especially with the current undervalued situation in silver. At the highest end of the investment pyramid risk is these precious metal junior mining stocks. All three of our panelists are exploration oriented. I love the exploration plays. These are quality companies, the highest quality companies in the best jurisdictions to have the greatest chance of really hitting one out of the park. And so in the case of Vizsla, Michael, you're already underway with that. So this is quite exciting, and we're grateful that we were able to participate in that upward momentum. So we're just beginning. This bull market, in my view, is it's gonna be a generational situation. This is gonna go for years, and it will end in a super bull market for gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, and these high quality equity stocks in the precious metals as the system of debt and derivatives implodes. Again, how long that takes is anybody's guess, but here we are. So one quote that I want to point out, and I've been talking about this. I introduced this quote at the Money Show about 3 years ago in Toronto, and I wanted to explain it because it was JP Morgan that said gold and silver are money, everything else is credit. Okay, the world, because the fiat currency system is still operational and working, okay, people think that, oh, why have gold and silver? Well, they'll find out very quickly when that implodes and these precious metal prices go to levels that people can't understand. As an example, in the US, there's 200 trillion. The United States has 200 trillion of promises to pay in the future. The country's bankrupt. Where is that money going to come from? And so I maintain that there's a lot of promises that are going to be broken, not just in the United States, but around the world. So the place to be to defend yourself from this event is going to be, like I say, ownership of physical metals and the high quality mining shares. With that, I'll end my comments. It's an exciting time to be involved with this sector. You're ground floor. You're absolutely ground floor at this point if you're looking at silver companies, and the move has just begun. So with that, we'll turn the time over to Jorge Ramiro Monroy, who will tell us about his company and why you want to pay attention to Reyna Silver. Jorge.
Thank you, Greg, and great points that you make. Maybe before I make my presentation, I'll just mention a data set, from a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman who owns a large trading company for silver in Asia, and he was telling me, that it's become so difficult for them to get their hands on doré and bullion, mentioning to me also how their main market is India, and India last year imported the equivalent of world production for silver. And you do the math and try to figure out where the silver is coming from, because 70% of the silver gets consumed, and the ETFs are trading equivalent of world production every day of silver. So it's I agree with you. It's some really interesting time for silver and silver stocks. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to introduce our company. We're a relatively young company. We went public in June. The basis of the company are two assets that came from Mag Silver, and specifically there were two assets that were part of Mag Silver's IPO in 2003, and even before that there were two assets that Peter McGaw, who's one of the founders of Mag Silver, had put together as district scale plays, and being connected and working with them for a number of years. The philosophy of the company is based on a concept that's very much part of Peter McGough's thinking, which is looking for properties that have the potential for high grade and district scale. As part of the deal that we did with Max Silver, Peter McGough was able to stay with us as a chief technical advisor, and we're also using a team of geologists who have been working with Peter McGough for a number of years and who are very successful exploration geologists on their own right. We have about 40% of our shares in the hands of institutional investors. Our cash position is just under 12 million Canadian dollars. Let me give you a little bit of an overview of our assets. Gigi and Batopilas are the two assets that came from Max Silver. And then together with La Reyna, which is an acquisition that we made recently, those three assets are in the state of Chihuahua in Mexico. And then also an asset that we acquired recently called Medicine Springs, which is in Nevada. To give you a little bit of a sense of where we sit in terms of peers, you can see us are still relatively undervalued from a number of what we would consider our peers in the sector. I think one thing that you'll, if you're following silver equities in the exploration space, you'll realize that there's very few names, and really what drives the stocks is the high-grade discoveries and showing to the market the potential for an economic silver deposit. There's been so few exploration. There's been very few new discoveries in the past 5 to 10 years, and so I think that the market is really, really hungry to see new discoveries. Let me skip this slide. I think most people are familiar with Peter McGough, who's our chief technical advisor. Obviously, a very successful track record of discoveries for Max Silver. We also have Doug Kerwin in our advisory board. He was actually one of our early investors, and he was a former VP of Ivanhoe. Let me talk about our flagship asset, Gigi. This is an asset that's at the heart of the Santulali district, which historically has been one of Mexico's most important mining camps. It produced 500 million ounces of silver at grades on average of 310 grams per ton silver with 15% lead zinc combined. So very high grade, very high tonnage. The bulk of that production has come from two mines that are to our east and west. And what's very interesting about the whole CRD system is that the majority of that production has been coming from the upper part of this geological model that you see. So those two producing mines to our east and west represent the veins, chimneys, and manto system, part of the system. However, the skarn has never been found, and that's what we're looking for with our exploration campaign, where we've already, from previous drilling by Max Silver, determined that those chimneys do continue into our area, into our project. And there's just numerous indicators, both at surface and at depth, validated both through the drilling that the producers did to our east and west, as well as drilling that Max Silver did over the past 15 years. From Max Silver, we also inherited a series of geophysics that show anomalies that have not been tested with drilling. Since we took over the assets, what we have done is reinterpret the geophysics and doing extensive mapping, putting all the historic results together and come up with a series of drill targets. We're just in the final stages of our permitting for the drill holes. We're a little bit delayed. We're already at the time where we were expecting to receive it. So we think it's just we should be receiving them soon. We already have our drill agreements ready. And so as soon as we get the drill permits within a week, we expect to be drilling. We're going to start with a 10,000 meter drill campaign, which will take us into the rest of the year and Q1 of next year. So that's our flagship asset, Gigi. And we have, as I mentioned before, 3 more assets that with the time that I have left, I would like to briefly touch on each of them. Batopilas, a fascinating project. It was historically one of Mexico's highest grade silver mine that was ever in production. Produced 350 million ounces of silver, where the average grade of the silver was 1.5 kilos per ton. This is what, in this slide, you can see what a month's worth of production looked like in 1906. The mine shut down because of the Mexican Revolution in 1912, and really since then the project has sat idle. Max Silver staked not only the former producing mine, but also the whole district, which has about 30 known veins, all of which have historic production and historic workings of higher than a kilo of silver per ton. And the mine did not shut down because it was depleted. It really shut down because of the revolution. So we believe a lot of the veins were left there untouched. We have a team at site at the moment. They've been working there for the past month with the idea of generating drill targets that we can permit and be ready to drill in Q1 of next year. We have a new project that we acquired about a month ago called La Reyna. It's a project that's about 100 kilometers from our flagship asset Gigi. It's another former producer. It's an epithermal type of project. It produced high-grade silver, primarily in the 1800s. And this is an epithermal vein that's about 4.5 kilometers long, and it has historic workings through the length of the strike. And the Spanish were only able to work the mine up to from surface to about 50, in some cases 100 meters. And there's vast indications that the ore bodies continue well beyond that. So our team at the moment is in the process of doing a sampling project through the whole length of the strike, as well as detail mapping. And our goal is to have this project drill ready again Q1 of 2021. And then finally, a new acquisition that we announced about a month ago. This is the Medicine Springs project in Nevada. This was an exciting project for us because it's geologically very similar to our flagship asset Gigi, sort of in the same family of deposits as the Taylor deposit in Arizona. And as everybody knows, Peter McGaw has become a world expert in CRD. So this was a very well-suited project for us. It's in the Carling district, so it was drilled 50 to 100 meters in depth using RC drilling, looking for gold. But clearly, what they found was silver and zinc, just as we have at Gigi. So when Peter McCoach just got back from the site, we're having just acquired the project a month ago. We're working through our work program. We do have drill permits in place, and in the next few weeks we're going to determine how to proceed. But the obvious thing to do is do some drilling with diamond drilling, testing to see how deep the mineralization goes, and then similar to what we're doing in Gigi, start looking for potential places where the skarn part of the system might be. So in summary, the catalyst for our stock is first and foremost the 10,000 meter drill campaign that will start at Gigi shortly, and then at Batopilas, La Reyna, and Medicine Springs, having drill targets ready by the end of the year, start the permitting so that we can start drilling early Q1. We have $12 million in cash, so more than enough to achieve all our exploration goals. And I think with that, I'll leave it to the next presenter. I hope I didn't go too much into my time.
You're fine, Jorge. Thank you so much. Great presentation. Very excited to get the drills turning there on Gigi and some of your other projects. That's going to be fun to watch. So up next is Joseph Hebert of Outcrop Gold. While the company name Outcrop Gold may indicate that it's a gold company, it was actually the high-grade silver project in Colombia that got my attention. And as I got to understand the story, I had to recommend it as a silver recommendation to my subscribers. So Joseph, the time's yours.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. Very nice to have an opportunity to talk to the audience in the webinar, and I hope I can present something interesting to you in the terms of silver and as Greg said, a little bit of gold. Okay, so Outcrop Gold is a hybrid prospect generator, meaning we will put drill holes into our flagship targets, especially if we think we can add value at a reasonable price. The wonderful thing about Colombia is you can still acquire properties where essentially undrilled deposits are outcropping. I'm going to focus on our Santa Ana project and the drilling progress we've made. Next. I will be saying forward-looking statements, obviously. You can read that at your leisure. Next. I have 36 years experience as a geologist, a mix of exploration and mining. Probably my most fun discovery was putting the first hole in Gold Rush in the Barrick now is mining or developing in the Placer Dome in the Cortez district. Otherwise, everyone else has South American experience in management or direct experience in Colombia. I actually started working in Colombia in 1997 when it was a different world, and that's when I discovered Colombia was such a wonderful place with respect to endowment to work in. And next. So directors, I'll point out most importantly, we just had Chris Granger come on our board. He's actually physically in our office in Medellin today, working with our exploration VP, Dave Thomas, and also a chief geologist we're looking at hiring, and also our Colombian country manager. Chris obviously has a wealth of experience in both target generation and general understanding of vein systems in Colombia because of his success in Buritica. Buritica, he came on the project grassroots and took it through development, delineation, and mining, and eventually resulting in a sale of $1.4 billion to Xinjiang. And next, please. 108 million shares outstanding, fully diluted at 165 million. We did a recent financing on top of a small treasury at the time, but we raised $5.75 million. Probably 85% of that was taken by Eric Sprott. That was Eric's second participation in a placement in the company. Otherwise, we have 10% in institutional and 25% owned by management. Next, please. So three advanced exploration projects. Santa Ana I'll focus on, but we also have two other well-advanced projects called Cauca and Majama. All of them, the common denominator is tremendous grade. Next. So Santa Ana is a famous colonial era, Spanish colonial era high-grade silver gold district. There's records in Indiana University from the Spanish Royal Archives. There's records of 14, in 1585, there were 14 mines operating at an average of 4 kilograms gold over 1.4 meters, and with local chutes up to 17 kilograms for over 1.4 meters. We're actually recently we announced some results. We've had hits of up to 10.8 kilograms silver equivalent, over almost a meter. So all 14 of those mines are on our project, and we're starting to see those kind of grades that the district is famous for. Next. So I'll just do this quickly. It's 100% owned. We were fortunate to make a 25,000 hectare acquisition that's continuous, whereas we had about 14 kilometers of vein zones cumulative. We probably have probably 5 or 6 times that. Excellent highway access, grid power, plenty of water on the project, very strong community support. We were able to permit our holes in 2 months, and for Colombia, excellent security, essentially normal risk. We came on the project, there were 8 holes from one station, all had hit. Rather than go back into there, we wanted to expand the system, so we went 1.5 kilometers to the north and made another discovery. We've since come back into the historic drilling and are putting together another high-grade chute there. Next. So it's interesting. These are narrow, high-grade systems. I mean, there's always a precaution about narrow veins. But narrow veins or thick veins that have this kind of grade are a unicorn. They basically don't exist. But we have areas where we have high angle veins that we can composite wall rock and 3 veins together and come up with up to 18 meters at 450 grams equivalent silver per ton. The finger there in the picture is just pointing out some native silver. Next. I won't read through this slide, but basically our best intercept is 0.95 meters of 69.6 grams gold with 5.5 kilograms silver. That's our 10.8 kilograms equivalent silver per ton, with about 1% zinc and 0.5% lead. So it's mainly gold and silver values supporting that. But what is important is we started drilling that was actually due diligence drilling in January, and by March we had a new discovery. By discovery I mean a high-grade chute. By July we had our second discovery called Megapozo. Now we've gone into Roberto Tovar, and we're seeing that to be like Ivana and Megapozo. These things are large, on the order of 300 by 300 meters. We are waiting for assays, but we have sulfidic vein extending to 450 meters, and they contour very well. Next. So this is what a 10.8 kilogram equivalent silver per ton looks like. Again, I'll just say it again, it's 0.95 meters. It's almost 70 grams gold, 5.55 kilograms silver, 2.5% lead, 3% zinc. It's characterized by 4 major mineralization events, which are massive sulfides, pyrite, sphalerite galena, sulfide breccias that is secondary to that, banded sulfides like typical epithermal veins, and then halos of veinlets and druzy bugs with sulfides that can contribute to the narrow width, or the width of the vein, I should say. Next. So on the left, the picture is 14 kilometers cumulative strike of vein zones. In contrast to a good part of the rainforest in Colombia, we can tie together these traces with actually outcropping veins that you see on the right. You can see the call out boxes for the drill areas. Those basically are the locations of our 3 discoveries to date. Next. So we've broken those vein traces. The picture on the left is the sampling map equivalent to that same vein trace map. That's a little dated. I think we've got over 9,000 soil samples and over 1 kilometer of trenches. We're in three quarters of a way through a 12,000 meter drill program, and we will complete the difference. We'll complete another 4,600 meters either the end of this year or very early in the first quarter of the next year. We brought in a second rig, and we have about 10 targets developed. You can see in the table, all the targets are supported by at least some good surface values. Some of these targets are actually supported by a plethora of old primitive historic workings that cut the vein. So really for the first two shoot discoveries, it was go in the adit, put your hand on the vein, step off, sample it, step off and drill it. Next. So this is a solid model, a grade model of solids, not of a block model, but just a quick solid model. The preliminary 3D modeling provides a very robust, that red is the greater than 10 grams gold equivalent or 80 grams silver equivalent contours, well-defined, continuous. That's a 200 meter scale bar. There's basically no nulls or misses within the 10 grade contour. This averages 0.6 meters thick, 200 by 210 meters. We sort of took a wildcat on this one. We stepped off almost 300 meters and we hit the projection of this vein zone on this western rake at about 450 meters, and we're waiting for assays. But if we get grade at that kind of depth, we don't know if we will, but if we get grade at that kind of depth, we really have some extensive potential down depth. Next. This is just quickly what it looks like for Megapozo. The drilling indicates 300 meters along the surface. The surface traces to the northeast. 0.75 meters average intercept width. For a solid volume, the weighted average is 11 grams gold and 780 grams silver. Open in all directions, including depth. Next. This is what the Roboter Tovar looks like. I apologize for the section, it's not very clear, but right now this is a little dated. I think we're 300 meters or 250 meters down dip from historic workings. The historic workings are the same thing. You can put your hand on highly mineralized vein in two adits within 80 meters of the surface. This is 1.3 meters average intercept width with a high of 3.52 meters. We actually drilled our thickest intercepts and have assays back, and we'll be reporting some of our better holes soon. Open in 3 directions, and assays are pending. Next. So we had a very small area in the northeast part of this polygon. We were able to acquire 25,000, almost 22,000 additional hectares. Most of these vein traces, there's some liberties taken with connecting the dots, but most of them are actually supported by Columbia Geological Survey sampling of portals. And that's a nice thing about this district in particular. People have been mining it for 400 years with very primitive methods. This acquisition also includes the Frias mine. Up till 1907, it produced 12,000 ounces from 12 million ounces silver from essentially one continuous shoot from the surface to 200 meters. So that'll become we'll move that forward as a target pretty quickly. Next. I'll just talk very briefly about Cauca. In Cauca, we actually have it's a porphyry, 22,000 meters. It's not very interesting as a porphyry, but when we evaluated it, relogged the core, did some trenching, did some road cuts, we found over 32 high-grade epithermal veins that persist consistently through the entire intrusive body. The previous owner was a coal company that farmed out all their technical work, and really they just treated it as a porphyry, capped any high grade at 5 grams, and didn't pay much attention to the grade. Actually, there is 700,000 equivalent gold ounces at 0.56 grams, but the real discovery is in the veins. Next. So this basically is just what the porphyry looks like, the interesting contour. There's a constrained pit. In that constrained pit at a 0.5 gram cutoff, you have a 0.5 gram of gold at 47 million tons. You don't go to Colombia to mine this, but you do but the real discovery here is what is the veins. Next. So in detail, this is what it looks. This is just one example of vein exposures in the porphyry. In 40 meters width, there's 7 parallel veins, 2 of them over a meter. In also the picture below, you also have 10-meter wide sheeted vein zones. The little inset picture is just gaudy free gold. That the core that came from ran 2 meters at 1,000 grams gold. Now, not all veins are like that. Obviously, it's an outlier, but this thing is drilled at 1 to 200 meters. None of these veins are modeled. Next. This is just a cartoon schematic because we don't have the veins modeled. We have done some preliminary block modeling of the veins to see their effect. But the veins are basically 12 to 15 times the grade of the intervening porphyry rock. Our exploration objective here, or I should say our exploration concept, is to maintain the 0.5 gram cutoff, maintain the 48 million tons possibly, and but get this thing up from a 0.5 gram to 1.5 grams. Then you start really talking about a quality open pit deposit. Gramalote, B2 Gold has fully permitted Gramalote, which is the first open pit mine in Colombia at roughly 2 million ounces to be produced. We hope Cauca could be the second open pit project in Colombia. Next. And Majama, another large epithermal vein system. It's a gold bias, but there's still on average 200 grams gold, silver with 23.5 grams gold. Next. This just quickly shows our sampling in the middle. We took over 80 samples in a couple work areas. There's artisan miners active delivering to 3 mills right now. We were able to go underground and sample. Basically, the miners are taking out non-selectively 22.3 grams per ton gold and about 7 to 10 times that in silver. The veins are clustered. They're still meter type veins, but you have up to 8 or more veins in a narrow distance of less than 400 meter width, and they extend for 4 to 6 kilometers with at least some primitive workings along the whole distance. Next. I just show this to show you that basically the whole project in the green outline offers targets. We took recon samples. I believe it's about 15 of them, say. These are cut across a vein. They're chip samples, but they range from 11 to 73 grams gold per ton and 75 to 1,400 grams silver per ton. The entire package land package provides targets. Next. Social CSR, it's the same as everyone else's, I guess. Build trust immediately with the community and keep it, provide jobs, and give them a vision of the future of taxes, training, jobs, royalty, and bettering their economies and their futures. For example, we're buying 400 wheelchairs for the communities of Falan and Majama. That was something already Ready Go Mining did that was very successful to win the support of the people. We know we're doing a good job because in 2 months we were able to receive drill permits for Santa Ana. We'll have permits for Majama by June 2021, and that's in an indigenous community, which can be notoriously hard to work, but our CSR manager has just made tremendous inroads into the community. We have 2 locals, indigenous peoples hired under her to do CSR for the community. And next. Just quickly, Corporate Catalyst, Santa Ana will finish the 12,000 meters with 2 rigs. We should have assay reports every 3 weeks. There are some delays on assays, as people know. But we should have continuous drill results. At the end of 12,000 meters, I think we'll still be in the exploration mode. If we are, we'll initiate another 12,000 meters. We may do some resource delineation density drilling. I don't think we will produce the resource next year, but we might be in the position of seeing what a resource might look like. Also, we'll be generating new drill targets on the 25,000 hectares. Majama, other project catalysts, Majama will drill the Bombona zone in 2021. That's where the miners have mining 23 grams gold and 7 to 10 times that silver. Majama will do our own scout drill and then likely look for a joint venture partner. Calca will look for a joint venture partner to do the work. Next. I believe it's just our contacts. Emails better, hebert@outcropgold.com, because I get so many bloody calls, but if you email, I'll certainly call back, or I'll try to accept every call I get at 775-340-0450. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joseph. Great presentation. Really looking forward to this drilling. Just to let listeners know, this is the most recent recommendation in my newsletters, the Outcrop Gold recommendation. And with 12,000 meters of drilling underway in Colombia, high-grade silver, a current share price of 40 cents or less, it's great value, I think. So congratulations on such a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
So last but not least, CEO and President Michael Konnert of Vizsla Resources. Michael, you got a great discovery underway. The good news keeps coming. I saw the press release just the other day. It's exciting. You know, the market's taken a pause here. Your share price after I recommended you at around 45 cents hit what at the high of around 270 Canadian. We pulled back some, you know, in this pause that the markets seem to be taking right now, the precious metal markets, but I see nothing but higher prices in our near future, probably starting in sometime in December, going into first quarter. I really think we're going to have another big breakout. So all of our silver companies look poised to do very well. Michael, tell us the latest on Vizsla Resources.
Well, thank you, Greg, and thank you for having me at this presentation. It's an honor to present with Joseph and Jorge here. Yeah, I'm very excited about the Vizsla story. Of course, Vizsla is a company that I founded back in 2017. I took through an IPO process in 2018. Spent a year in Mexico working on consolidating this district with a great team. And now in 2019, 2020, we've really been able to prove the quality of the exploration upside here with one of Mexico's best drill intercepts back in the summer. Now, I think what I'd like to go through and show in this presentation is how we're going to put together the ounces that are required to justify the acquisition of the mill, the permits, everything that we need to basically transform Vizsla from a very exciting high-grade discovery story into a development story into a producing story faster than most companies. So I think I should be able to scroll here. It looks like I am. Yep. And so, of course, I'll be making forward-looking statements. I obviously believe the best is yet to come for Vizsla, so that's a forward-looking statement right there. You know, our vision for Vizsla is to create a low-cost, high-margin, sustainable producer of silver and gold on a large scale at our Panuco project in Sinaloa, Mexico. Now, we have an excellent team that's working very hard to discover new sources of high-grade silver and gold at the project. And as we continue to do that, we will execute the options that we have that will allow us to become a producer in the near term. Now, of course, our goal is to do this by creating a healthy environment for our communities that we work in. During COVID-19, we were very active in supporting the communities, and we still continue to be, as there, you know, COVID is still, you know, a threat in Mexico, but we continue to support the communities, and we endeavor to make this a success for not only our shareholders, not only our company, but for the stakeholders in the area as well. Now, Vizsla, as I mentioned, is a company that I started, took through the IPO process, so I wrote the first check. I own the first share of the company. I'm joined by some excellent shareholders as we've come along and proven the value that exists into Vizsla. But important to point out that management, myself, my board, my team, our advisors, we own about a quarter of the company. Eric Sprott is a major shareholder. A number of very high quality institutional investors remain shareholders from this most recent round. Our market capitalization is around $130 million. That's our simple market capitalization. We have about $30 million in the bank. Our basic shares outstanding are around 91 million, and fully diluted, we have just under 125 million shares outstanding. Currently trading at around $1.70. Panuco is really it's a unique project to describe. It's actually quite a wonder. You know, it's a project that's 45 minutes outside of Mazatlan. It's on a 4-lane highway that connects Durango and Mazatlan. It's a heavily traveled road, but it's also a district of small mines and you know, significant mining over 450 years. It's one of the earlier silver camps in Mexico, and you know, it really is an odd camp to describe in the sense that it has all of this you know, advanced production infrastructure. It has roads, it has power, it has a mill that we have under option, tailings, you know, all of these components that actually, you know, you would think would belong in a brownfields camp, you know, an established camp that's seen a huge amount of exploration. But as a matter of fact, it you know, truly is underexplored. As a matter of fact, only essentially 2 of the over 25 veins across the district, large vein corridors across the district, have ever been explored. And Vizsla is the first company to systematically explore it. Another way to explain that is that we have over 75 kilometers of total vein strike, 35 kilometers of underground mines, 500 ton per day, and all the permits and agreements in place. Now, it sits in a trend of you know, major silver mines, including San Dimas, which is 80 kilometers up the road, and it is almost identical in terms of geology. The 3 major points that I always like to touch on it, and I think what I'll do, typically I touch on those 3 major points, but what I'll do today, because I know a lot of people are wondering, how are we going to get to the point where we have the resources that back up you know, our decision to move towards production. But before I do that, the 3 major points that I always like to touch on is the size of the district, the grade of the district, and the pathway to production. I think this is one great way to demonstrate the size here. So you know, no matter, depending on where you are in the world, I think this can apply. But you know, on the bottom left, we have London, Vancouver, New York, and Hong Kong. Now, these are all to scale. This is a vein field, all these parallel veins running across, you know, our district to scale. You know, these are the known veins that we know, but we're making new discoveries. But this is over major cities across the world. Just gives you an idea how big this is. You know, it's really a massive district and completely underexplored. Another way to look at that quickly is just how we sit next to San Dimas, Zacatecas, Fresnillo, other major silver districts in Mexico, all of which that have market caps over $1 billion. Over the last, I suppose it's been about 7 months now since we returned to the district, and we started drilling after our COVID break there. And you know, we were very lucky because, you know, we took that COVID break. We were able to do two things. We were able to, you know, basically refine our knowledge of the district based on what we'd had explored and the recon that we did with our geologists over the time prior to COVID. But we're also able to extend our option agreements, move those out. So we had two very valuable catalysts that happened over that shutdown. We turned a kind of an adversity into an opportunity. And you know, when we came back, our second hole on Napoleon was a discovery hole. We were ecstatic. It was a very high grade. It was very nice width. And you know, we thought, wow, this is fantastic. Our share price more than doubled. We were trading over $1, and it was maybe a couple of weeks later that we had hole 7 at Napoleon, which was 6 meters at 8 kilograms of silver equivalent. You know, in that 1.8 kilograms of silver plus 2 ounces of gold plus, you know, great lead and zinc numbers, and that's the hole that really, you know, kicked off you know, the broader appreciation for what Panuco has here and the high grade potential that we see. And so, you know, as a result of that, we've focused drilling on the Napoleon, the new discovery here. It had never been drilled. There was old workings there, but that's what led us to, you know, to explore the Napoleon hole. And we drilled around old workings, and we were very fortunate to, you know, to make those discoveries. And now, since then, we've actually extended the strike of the Napoleon corridor 2 kilometers. Now, I'm going to come back to this, but I think what's important is actually to give you an idea of what, you know, a series of ore chutes. This is what we're looking for, is ore chutes along a major vein corridor, what this can lead to, and why this is important. So this is the Animus vein corridor. Going back to the slide here, it's in the top right here of the map. This is the most developed area. You know, some commentators will say, oh, this is actually a, you know, developed mining camp, or, you know, there's been drilling here. Yeah, that's true, but, you know, pretty much all of the drilling has been on this Animus vein corridor, and some drilling just over here at La Colorado. You know, the vast majority of these veins, you know, have never been drilled before. As you know, an example is Napoleon there. So Animus here is the most developed area of the camp. You know, in other areas of Mexico or similar development like this, you know, this could be responsible for over 100 million ounces of silver. We don't have those historic records at Panuco, but in other areas it could be, you know, in line of 100 million ounces of silver, and that would be over 8 mined ore chutes over 3.5 kilometers. So that gives you an idea of the, you know, the capacity of some of these ore chutes to provide ounces. Some are up to 40 million ounces, some are 10 million ounces, some are smaller, some are larger. But, you know, a target for a good ore chute would be somewhere between 10 and 40 million ounces. Now, going back to Napoleon, this is an area that we believe that we are onto a meaningful ore chute, and potentially onto 2 meaningful ore chutes. If you remember the 3.5 kilometer strike there, you know, there's multiple 8 ore chutes along there. We also believe we are drilling here at Tajitos. We brought our 5th drill rig here to Tajitos. We're working on basically a new discovery there, which we believe has the potential to have a meaningful ore chute. So that's 3 there. We're also working at the Aguazaca vein here at Cordon de Oro, which has never been drilled before. It's an analog to Animus. It's a significant opportunity to drill this. In my opinion, it's high reward drilling. And so that has another potential to be a new ore chute for us to build resources. So already we're looking at 4 potential ore chutes, and historically some of these can range between 10 and, you know, upwards of 40 million ounces. So the potential to build ounces is certainly here at Panuco. Now we're generating new targets across the district, northern Animus, southern Cordon de Oro. Very excited to be drilling Tajitos. There's new targets being generated all the time. And our Vice President of Exploration, Charles Funk, is actually he's sacrificing himself to the 2-week quarantine. He's down in Mexico. He's on the project soon, and you know, we're generating new targets as we go across the district. But I think what I'm trying to get across here is that the potential to build meaningful ore chutes and meaningful ounces at Napoleon, at Cordon de Oro, is truly there. And you know, the sense is that as we continue to develop these and create resources, we'll be able to justify the back-end purchase of that mill and transform the value of the company from an exploration company to a high-grade producer of a district scale in Mexico. Now, to back that up, my claims here that we're onto a good ore shoot at Napoleon, you know, this was that initial drill hole here of 8 kilograms, true width, about 3 meters of 8 kilograms of silver equivalent. So great width, great mineable width. I mean, that's spectacular grades. Now, you know, other times we have commentators talking about narrow veins at Vizsla, you know, almost 5 meters true width at 1.8 kilograms of silver equivalent in hole 2. That was our initial discovery. You know, we also are drilling recently at depth here. This is over significant vertical extent, 2.5 meters at 1.6 kilograms of silver equivalent. Now, this is quite impressive, but, you know, we also have very wide intercepts, 15 meters of 449 grams silver equivalent. Now, this is one ore shoot that we are on here at Napoleon. We're drilling shallow here. We're extending drilling to the north. It's open at depth. The potential for this to grow into something that's meaningful, I believe, is there. Now, we are looking at opportunities, how to optimize the value of this. This is near enough to the surface that we could look at an open pit scenario. But we are bringing on experts to help us with that as we move on from exploration into kind of optimizing what would a mine plan look like. Again, highlighting these drill results just because, you know, my first point, of course, is the size of the district is there. The grade is here. As I mentioned, the 1.8 kilograms, 66 grams gold. You know, these gold grades are fantastic for a silver cap. I know we're in a silver presentation, but the gold grades are fantastic as well. So what does that look like for Vizsla moving forward? You know, I think going back and looking at that map where I was identifying, you know, 4 potential areas for building serious ounces, you know, that, you know, we're completely focused on that. That's very important to us. We need to, in 2021, demonstrate the potential for a resource. At the same time, we're demonstrating the potential for this district to be a meaningful, significant district with more and more discoveries to come. And the way that we're doing that is, first of all, through drilling. We'll complete 31,300 meters in 2020. We have 5 drill rigs turning. We'll have spent about $7 million. But, you know, in the background, you know, what we're working on is working up new targets as well. So we have a team that's extensive, and you know, we are generating new targets, as I mentioned, to the south of Cordon de Oro, to the north of Animas. You know, this is a target-rich environment, which is you know, it's a great cliche, but it's true here. And of course, we're very excited to be exploring this district. And again, as we begin to put together potential for resources. Now, we're not putting the target date on putting the resource out, but what I would say is that we do give out enough data and disclosure for groups to kind of play along at home with, you know, with resources as we move along. But as we do this, you know, we come closer and closer to you know, exercising this option for the Rio Panuco, the $23 million path to production, as I call it. Now, you know, we don't have a major payment up until 2022, and even then, it's a $2.6 million payment for the Rio Panuco. And the Rio Panuco is half of the district. The other half is held by Silverstone, and Silverstone, we have an additional option for the surrounding ground for $20 million. So in total, it's about a $40+ million option. But the pathway to production is a $23 million pathway to production. And, you know, for us, we have the time up until 2022, you know, to continue to explore. But, you know, this could be exercised at any time. You know, as we get the confidence and continue to gain the confidence through our drilling, we can exercise this option immediately and, you know, put a little bit of money into that mill. But, you know, you look at other type of discovery stories, you look at a, you know, Silvercrest in Mexico, you look at a Great Bear in Canada. You know, if they had an option on the back of a discovery to pay $23 million to have permits, a mill, power, tailings, you know, I think each company would jump at that. So this is really the differentiator on Vizsla. It used to be kind of a little bit of a concern for us. $23 million, it's, you know, it seemed to be big, especially when our market cap was lower. But now this is actually a shortcut for us. This is a this is an opportunity for us to reach production faster than our peers. And I'm confident that we'll be able to do that. And part of that is the team that we have here. Actually, a very large part of it is the team that we have here. Craig Perry, our chairman, well-known mining entrepreneur. Charles Funk is a spectacular vice president of exploration. He's young, he's hungry for success, and he's doing it. And Simon Smirlik, the COO of Alsenko Engineering, one of the world's largest engineering firms. Stuart Smith, most recently with Teck Resources. We have a team that's fixated on building mines and moving into production. So again, the three major takeaways that I always like to touch on and are worth repeating is the grade. The camp that we have here, that we've demonstrated these spectacular grades. Every press release we've put out recently has been kilo plus, multiple kilos over meters. As I've shown you, the size of the district is fantastic. It fits over a city. It compares very favorably to billion-dollar silver fields across Mexico. And then that differentiator is, of course, this pathway to production. And so, I think looking at 2021 as an opportunity, if you believe silver prices are going higher, we have a strike rate of discovery at Panuco where every 1,000 meters we drill, every 3,000 meters, we have a certain success rate. I see that continuing. I believe that we're going to continue to discover more and more ore, more and more metal, I should say, and convert that, to resources, justify the back-end purchase of the mill, and be re-rated as a producer in a relatively near term. And so that's a presentation there. I thought there may have been questions, but our contact information is VizlaResources.com, and that's the best place to connect with us.
Thanks so much, Michael. Great presentation. That's with 5 drill rigs turning out, the excitement is crazy from my standpoint. I think you've got a lot more discovery news that will be coming. So, and one point in your slide there, and I think this epitomizes why these 3 companies are on this panel with me. These are the 3 companies I've recommended for good reason. Grade matters in these junior mining companies. And all 3 of our panelists have very high grade situations. The scale and the scope of these projects is enormous. And, we have the right teams on the ground that are doing the work. So when you combine that, that's what I look for. And that's also what the majors are looking for. So if you're successful with your drilling, this lines up for what we all hope for is a buyout, a discovery, an economic discovery of merit that goes on to become a producing mine, and a major takes it out. So congratulations on all 3 of you. We'll be watching very closely, and let the drills keep turning. So yes, so great presentations, guys. So now we're going to go into the question answer session. And while I'm trying to get all the questions that have come in, I want to just ask each one of you to respond to this first question I'll generate in 60 seconds or less for each one of you. And we'll start with Jorge, Joseph, and then Michael. For investors, for our listeners, what is the single most compelling reason we should invest in your stock? Jorge? So
for our company, the biggest thing to watch for is our drilling at Gigi. The district just on the upper part of the CRD system has produced 500 million ounces of silver. And typically in these systems, it's not uncommon to find even a bigger amount of silver in the skarn portion of the systems. So this is our first major drilling in this area. So that's the main thing to watch for. And then, I think the other 3 projects in our portfolio could be, a company of their own. They're all district scale projects. We're going to have some initial exploration there as well. So it's, and then, obviously we have a team that has a tremendous track record in silver discoveries in Mexico. So I think that's what you get when you invest in our company.
Joseph, your single most important, compelling reason?
Yeah, I would say Colombia is really the last truly frontier area left in Latin America. Outcrops are sticking out of the ground. It's not concept. It's outcropping deposits, literally. Our company is all about high grade. I would say 5 out of 8 of our projects are extremely high grade vein systems with a lot of potential, very little drilling. Our team is filled with ore finders and mine makers, and ore finders they do it again. It's a relatively small group of professional geologists and that continue to make discoveries over their career. Yeah, and I'd like to say I'm due for one. Our CSR results we treat like gold.
Yeah.
You mess it up, and a good project can go nowhere, or it's extremely difficult. So our CSR results are like gold, and it's incremental. We take care of it. We do what we need to do, and we make ourselves valuable to the community. So we get their support.
Yeah, 60 seconds. That's good, Joseph. Colombia, I agree. That's a big value play for you, and one of the more compelling reasons. I totally agree. Michael,
Okay.
What about your single most compelling reason?
I think it's just the rarity of an opportunity like this. So you have a consolidated land package that has the grade, the size, and the pathway to production, lining up with kind of the price movement of the metal. It's really pretty simple in that sense. It's just a kind of a rare opportunity. It's mine.
Yep, super. No, I totally in agreement with you. So the first question here, this is for you, Michael. On the mill, how easily is permitting its size increase? That's often a big decision, and that can take quite a bit of time.
Well, so we are, we have started to initiate some of these engineering studies, things like that, where we'll, look at different opportunities and options for the mill. I don't have time, I don't know if it's 2 months, 6 months, or a year right now, but I would say that the idea is that, we have those permits in place existing that come from the existing vendor. The disturbance is already there, the tailings are there. This is a mining camp. I think it's a lot different than permitting something that's greenfields and there's never been any production into. So, that's something that as we continue to develop our production profile of the company and looking at that, those timelines will be investigated. But in our opinion, it's not a very it's not an insurmountable task to do that.
Right. Okay, next question is for Jorge. Question or statement, excellent portfolio of projects. Jorge, are you looking to acquire an interest in more silver projects in Mexico or elsewhere?
So not at the moment. I think at the moment we're really focused on advancing our, what we have in hand. So we do, if anybody brings a project to us, we do look at it, and and if there was a really compelling opportunity, we might look at something. But we're primarily focused on our portfolio of assets. We do have some things in mind, but that are more related to little pieces that we're missing in some of our projects. Like, we're missing some claims here and there, so you might see that in the future. But mostly just focused on the projects that we have on hand.
Great. Okay, and for Joseph, on your 50 million warrants, Joseph, what are they priced at?
I believe the average is the average is about 32.
32. So they are in the money.
A good part
slight.
Yes, some of them are in the, I'm sorry, but that's the average. There are some up, above 40 cents, but most of them are in the money.
In the money right now, okay. And so if all were exercised, how much cash would that bring in?
A big amount of about I would say the 20-cent warrants would bring in 4.6 million, and the 40's about roughly the same. So there's room there for about 8 million, 9 million bucks.
Yeah, great. And so while I'm on this topic, what is the current treasury for each one of our companies? Joseph, you first, Michael, then Jorge.
We are just about at 5.5 million, and really, when you consider that we financed June at 5.7, we've been positive cash flow on the warrants. So 5.5, give or take, million Canadian.
Yep, Michael.
We're about 30 million Canadian right now.
Great. And Jorge.
We're about just under 12 million.
12 million. So all of our companies are well funded and can do a lot of work without worrying about financing in the near future. So that's great. All right, this next question is for Michael. Good geology at Panuco, Michael. Northern Sinaloa has some security issues. So can you comment on the state of security in Southern Sinaloa?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to put this is that we've been very happy working there. Of course, this was part of our due diligence originally when my partner and I flew down there the first time. It was, let's just say that Sinaloa suffers from a bit of a PR problem. Every time you turn on Netflix, there's something about different characters in that area. So, it's understandable that people have some concerns about the area, but, one of the funny parts about the area that we're in is that it's about 45 minutes away from the beach. Mazatlan, 300,000 Canadians and Americans, snowbirds, in normal times go down there each year. It's a developed area. We drive from Mazatlan, the tourist center, down a 4-lane toll highway owned by Carlos Slim to the project. It's patrolled regularly by security and city military, things like that, police. And so the end result of that is that we don't actually have security guards or anything over the top. It's really just a normal kind of exploration camp for us. So we also employ many of our helpers. Pretty much all of our helpers are from the local community. So we're a big part of what's going on there at Copala Panuco. So it's so far it's been good. Now this doesn't come from a naive point of view. We have experience in Mexico, and as as needed, we will do the right things. But so far, it's been an excellent place to work.
Yes, and I've been personally down in Mazatlan multiple times with site visits over the years. I've always felt very comfortable there. I like enjoying some extra days in Mazatlan. It's just a fun place to hang out. But I've never seen any real problems. Although I really wanted to get down on your site visit, and with the COVID situation, it prevented me from doing that. So hopefully once this is over, I can get down there and take a look at things. So
absolutely, that'll be great.
Yeah. This question is also for you, Michael. 23 million to production seems like a very low cost. Any comments on that?
Well, I suppose that's the total all-in cost for us to exercise that option. There may be, in speaking with Simon Smirlik, who's our, the COO of Ausenco, but was also on our board. We look at that mill. It was operating recently. It's on care and maintenance. Do we need to spend a few $1 million, $5 to $10 million, let's say, to optimize that, to expand the output? Yeah, that's something that we probably look at. So it's not $23 million and turn the key and there she goes, but it cuts out many years of permitting and agreements and things like that. It's something that if we invested some money into, we'd be able to run it shortly. But if we were to put 10 million into it, we would be looking at an optimized mill with all the everything that we would need. So it's not the final cost, but it's the cost for us to acquire that infrastructure.
Yeah, and the second, there's another question regarding this. Where will the 23 million come from? Would there be shareholder dilution?
Well, looking at our warrant structure, of course, part of the bought deal that we did, the $30 million deal that we did in the summer, was looking at that with Eric Sprott and the funds that participated, the three major, Eric Sprott and the two other major funds that participated. And the idea was that, we didn't want to do this raise and then be in a position not to be able to exercise that option. And so those warrants we've agreed that, when we come to that point, that we will pull those warrants in to finance that. I think the net cost, and this is not, this is a commission-free raise, is about $49 million Canadian, an ample amount to do everything that we need. And of course, that would be if we were fully out of cash, which I don't intend on getting to that point. So we should have the capital in order to do that, and be well funded for that.
Super. Joseph, for you, question is, any JV news to expect in the near future?
Well, my goal is do joint ventures, let's say less than 6 months. We're actively talking to 3 parties who I can't really say because they're under CA. But we're working hard. We're working hard on at least 2 joint ventures.
Super. Okay. And Jorge, the next question is for you. Let's see here. I thought you answered this in your presentation, but the listener is asking, what priority order will the company be initiating work on all 4 projects? Will you be working on all 4 at the same time?
Yeah, so obviously our flagship asset is our main priority, and that's where the bulk of our capital is going to be going to. With the other 3 projects we are going to be working on, and in this first stage we're doing what I would describe as very low cost, high impact exploration. And we're going to get all our projects drill ready. And we do have enough of a budget to do a little bit of drilling in each property. So I think that what you can expect is drilling at Gigi, which is our flagship, starting very shortly. And then in Q1 of 2021, I would like to see drilling in our other 3 properties.
Super. Okay. Next question. This is, I guess they're asking each one of us to give them, the listeners, our projections for where we believe silver prices will be in 2021. How high? What would be the high that you would project for 2021? I'll answer that first. I would say that silver is going to break out into a new all-time high, which would be over the $49 level hit in 2011. I really see some major chaos and problems in the financial markets with the debt levels and the currency situation. So funny that in this presidential election, neither candidate addressed the bankruptcy of the country. It's just to avoid that subject and the voters not care just is scary to me. But anyway, I believe both gold and silver will have big breakouts. They'll both break out into new all-time highs in 2021. But since this is silver, I would say easily over $50 an ounce. Jorge, how about you?
I don't feel like I'm qualified to give a projection of price, but I do tend to agree with you in terms of the, I think you're gonna see new highs for silver this year. Certainly higher than it is today. I do believe that. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to add additional projects to our portfolio. Just thinking of a scenario of what happens if, let's say, silver does go past 30, 40, even 50. I think you mentioned it at the beginning of your presentation. I think as a management and board, and being very significant shareholders of the company, we did realize that in the context, the portfolio assets that each of these companies that you have today become, extremely valuable. It's rare to find silver projects anywhere.
Yes, I agree. I've mentioned this many times in the newsletter. People keep asking me, Greg, can you get us some more silver recommendations? I was like, well, I'm looking, and it's very difficult to find high quality, high grade projects in great jurisdictions with the right management teams. It's just, they're far and few between. And congratulations to all three of you for you've checked all my boxes, and that's hard to do. I say no a lot. Yeah.
And maybe
Michael,
I'll
how
add
about
a
you?
really quick comment, if you don't mind, Greg. Just another sort of anecdotal piece of information that was very interesting. Having breakfast in Mexico City last summer with a gentleman who runs one of the companies that that does a procurement of physical silver for Samsung Electronics. I was asking him, what sort of worries you about your work, and he said, a scenario where, wake up one morning and I cannot fulfill my supply line for the manufacturing, and for the last few years you've seen Samsung Electronics do deals directly with some of the silver mines in Mexico. I think Reyna Silver has an offtake agreement with Samsung. So I mean, there's just so much that it's moving in favor of silver.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, ton of factors. Yeah, we've only mentioned some of the bigger ones, but yeah, there's a lot of other factors that all point to a higher silver price. Michael, how about your projection? Any thoughts?
Well, I agree with Jorge. I don't think I'm personally qualified as well to make any price predictions, but there was an old. I remember when looking at a copper presentation with Robert Friedland, and his quote was, "You're going to need a telescope to see it." So I think that applies here. I don't know what the price will be, but I think you'll need a telescope.
Yeah, I often just say, the price is going to shock the world, right? When these precious metal prices detach from where they are right now and go to levels that people can't even understand. And it'll be because there's a lot of chaos, unfortunately, in the world. I don't wish that. We can make a lot of money from this debacle that's going to happen worldwide with the debt derivative currency situation that's unsustainable. But, we don't wish that. We want to see things try to hold together as long as possible. But Joseph, what about you? Any thoughts on where the silver price will be in 2021?
Well, I'm not qualified either, but I'm qualified to read Greg McCoach. So I would say I started out when we were putting out news releases on drilling, it was 98 to 1. I believe you just said it was 70 to 1.
Yeah,
or
78
thereabouts
to 1.
this morning.
Yeah,
It's got
78 to 1.
even on a steady line. I'm thinking bet down to 50 to 1. So let's say 35 to 40 bucks an ounce.
Yep, that's good. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's really qualified to make futuristic projections, but it's fun to play that game sometimes. And when I used to go on with the major news channels, MSNBC and Fox and Neil Cavuto, all those guys, they would ask me, "Where's gold going, Greg?" And this is like, was it $300, $400 an ounce? And I said, well, it's going to 600, it's going to 700, right? And they'd always basically laugh me off the show, right? And the one in particular that was the most prominent example was, I think it was 2006 on MSNBC, the first week in January. Where's gold going, Greg? And I said, over $1,000 an ounce. And they have 3 anti-gold guys there to bash my brains out and basically laughed at me for 30 seconds. Like, ho, Greg, when's this going to happen? And it's odd that I've maintained that gold was always going higher all these years, and here we are at 1885, and we hit 2060 recently, and they still don't acknowledge that. This rising precious metals market is the canary in the coal mine, trying to tell anybody who will listen, and at this point it's only the smarter group of investors who are paying attention, that something is wrong, and something is wrong, right? But the masses are not paying attention. Can you imagine what's going to happen to these gold prices? The reason I say gold and silver will go to levels that people can't understand is because when people finally figure out they're in trouble, there's no room to receive it. The fund money and the wealthy investors that have no gold, silver, no precious metals exposure, they will flood into these markets. And like I said, this is going to be the super bull market of all time. This will be the biggest super bull market we've ever seen in the history of the world for precious metals. So with that, any other last minute comments, guys? We'll sign off. It's been a great panel, great silver webinar. Michael, any last comment?
No, I think we touched on it all here, but I wanted to say thank you for covering us early, last year, and thank you to the shareholders that came from your subscribers. Appreciate that, and glad to be here.
Super. Joseph, any last comment?
Yeah, I would say Santa Ana, we're 3 for 3 for success on targets. We've got 3 nice shoots, and that's about 20% of our vein traces tested. So
yeah,
there's a lot,
I agree.
there's a lot of room. Yeah.
Yep, you got my attention for sure. And Jorge, any last comment?
Just to echo Michael's comment, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present, and congratulations to Joseph and Michael. Great. This is the first time that I hear about Outcrop Gold, and great projects. Wishing everybody good luck, and everybody who's following silver. I think there are some great times ahead, and thanks again, Greg, for giving us the opportunity.
Yes,
sure, for sure.
We'll thank our listeners for listening in, and till next time, guys, we'll keep this up as the silver market continues to power forward. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.
Okay, thanks so much.